It feels so nice to finally be talking about this game, no pun intended. For those who don't know what we're talking about today, The Finals is an arcade shooter released on June 7th of 2023 by Embark Studios, a somewhat small studio that's comprised of ex-Battlefield, Call of Duty, DICE devs who decided to move forward and do something kind of different because they have been in the industry forever and are veterans of the genre. And originally, they weren't even going to make a shooter. This game was supposed to be something different, which they have slightly altered since, and they're working on another game called Arc Raiders, which is going to be an extraction shooter, that kind of thing. But originally, when they were coming up with The Finals, they didn't even want to make a shooter. They wanted to make something different because they were afraid of how heavily oversaturated the genre is, but they still took a chance, and I think it's honestly my favorite thing about the game is that it's very risk-takey, and we'll explain a little bit more about that here in just a minute. But I'm going to break this video up into 3 separate parts because it's going to make it a lot easier for you to understand why I think that this is the most underrated game I have ever played. And those 3 parts are gameplay, longevity, and monetization. So we're going to talk about these 3 things separately because they are very important, but all of them make up why I feel the way I do about the game. Alright, so first up, we're talking about gameplay. Now, the gameplay in The Finals is very interesting for, I think, one really big reason, other than the fact that a lot of the gunplay that's in this game is incredibly smooth. It feels great to play, it looks great, it's overall just a very, very positive gaming experience, save for some bugs in the past that have since been patched out for the most part. One of the biggest things about the gameplay in this game is its destructible environments. Now, the destructible environments in this game work a lot differently than a lot of other games that have destructible environments because it has a set of destructibility that is server-side. So if you don't know the difference in destructibility, there is a difference between server-side and client-side destructibility. So the difference between the two is that client-side means that for the most part, in games like Siege or other games with destructibility, you're not going to see the exact same thing that other people see when it comes to the destructible environments. You'll see something that's probably very similar, but the actual movement of the debris and everything else is different based entirely on the client themselves, which is you, the player. Whereas The Finals has a very different set of server-side destructibility, which is entirely based around every single piece of debris, every single breakable wall, window, shatterable piece of anything, all looks the exact same, and every single player in the map sees the exact same kind of destructibility. Now, it honestly ends up leading to a lot more of a much more fair playing field for all the players because everyone sees the same thing. So when you make plays in The Finals and you're like, okay, well, there's a hole over there, let me just go slide through that hole that's been made after someone threw a grenade, and I'll just slide through, throw my own grenade, and boom, I just got a kill, and no one knew I was going that way except me, because when I went through, I looked for it, saw it, everyone else had the chance to, but I took the chance first. See, I think that's one of the most interesting things about this game's gameplay is the maps, really, are one of the biggest things about it, because these maps are all built around this central idea that is, I think, honestly, a core part of the game's design, which is that The Finals is a VR game show where all of the contestants that are playing of fake versions of themselves, and there's no blood, there's none of that. It's legitimately just you shoot each other and you explode into a shower of coins when you die. And everything is so stylized in The Finals. It's one of the best things about it is that it has a very specific design. It takes that design seriously, and it's a lot of fun, and it's very well made. So the second thing I kind of want to talk about is the longevity, because this is another argument that comes up a lot with free-to-play games, where a lot of free-to-play games have a problem with overall longevity over a long period of time. Now, depending on what the game is, that usually is not the only thing in their plan as far as what they're going to do with their game, but for the most part, The Finals is one of the few games I think I've seen in a while that has done something really, really impressive, and it's that they have put out enough content in over a year and a half, almost 2 years now, since its release in 2023, that they have had 6 full seasons worth of content, and most games take like 8 years to do this much content, which is insane to me, because a lot of people tend to just forget that part, but The Finals has had, let's count them again, 6 full seasons in over a year and a half, almost 2 years since its release in 2023, which is, man, that is rare. I think while we're talking about longevity in general, one of the most important things I have to point out about this game is that Not only is this game currently, as of me recording this, running a $100,000 tournament, which is something that's crazy, that amount of money for a video game tournament, especially a free-to-play game, but it is still happening. I just need to point that out. We need to talk about how well this studio, Embark, talks to their player base and how well they have been communicating and the level of dedication they have had to this game. Not only that, but Embark has been very, very vocal throughout most of the process of creating the finals and even just updating it over the last 2 years with talking to the player base and being very, very consistent with making sure that the player base is given a fair, balanced, and incredibly fun experience, and that in some cases with things like recon senses and the stun gun, either opting to remove them from the game entirely because they just could not balance it and it was just too broken and what they created was just too good, or with the stun gun, just taking it out for an indefinite amount of time to then rebalance it, work on it, and try and make it good enough to put it back into the game so it feels fair and balanced for everyone. How often do you really see game dev studios putting that much love and care into their game because they want it to keep surviving? Again, we talk about this idea of longevity, but longevity is just something that comes with a lot of work and play. And I think the finals has a perfect example of the marrying of those two ideas and concepts and putting them together in a game that has been very high quality for almost 2 years. And it's something I don't see enough of. And sadly, one of the reasons I had to make this video is because I just need more people to see this. Because, again, it is so rare to see this in the overall gaming market. And they have been doing this for a little under 2 years, and people just don't see it. I still don't understand it. The fact that they have pumped out this much quality content in the time, it's just such a breath of fresh air to be able to play a game for this long and just not really ever get bored of it. And instead of just getting bored, you just take breaks so you don't burn out. You come back and there's just an entirely new set of content, and it's just high quality every single time, from the maps to the gameplay, the weapons, the level of customization you have with all 3 of the different classes, and the level of intriguing and very well designed cosmetics. We're going to talk a bit about them here in the monetization part in a second, but the cosmetics in this game are second to none, and they are just so well made, and I love them so much. So with that, let me just pivot a tiny bit to talk about monetization. For the most part, monetization tends to be one of the biggest problems with a game like this, where it's hard for studios to monetize content and to make something that is very different, intriguing, unique, and not really give it super predatory prices, because that tends to be the biggest issue. But the finals does not really have this issue. Most of the cosmetics, and really anything that you can actually spend your real-world money on, which again, all of that is cosmetics. There is not a single bit of anything you can buy in this game that is going to give you a gameplay edge or change any of that with real money. You're not going to be able to do that. You have to earn every little bit of actual gameplay changing thing, like the different classes, the weapons, the abilities, all of that you have to earn yourself in game. But the stuff you can buy, which is the cosmetics, are very fairly balanced for the most part in terms of pricing. And then when you do, they aren't really that expensive. They don't force you to spend $40 on 2 skins. And they have probably one of my favorite sets of battle passes I've ever experienced in a game, of which I have bought pretty much every one since the game is released, because all of the passes have been very interesting and fun. And all of the passes also give you enough of the premium currency back throughout the process of leveling through the battle pass that either you can go into the store, check all the bundles, which, by the way, bundles in the store, you don't even have to buy the bundles as a whole. You can pick through the bundles and pick specific pieces of them, which is also something that is not very common. And then you can either buy one of those bundles or the pieces within with that currency, or you can save that currency and buy the next battle pass, which you will have more than enough of the premium currency to do. Sometimes you really only have to spend like $10 once, and as long as you play long enough and you spend some time with the game and level through the battle pass, which is not ridiculously difficult because most of the XP gain you get in this game is very fair for the most part. I have my own feelings about some of the XP and the VR gain, which VRs is the non-premium currency, the one you have to earn to buy everything else in the game. But despite any sort of rambling I could do about that, those things are still fairly balanced. I just am kind of a bit of a nitpicker, but anyway. So frankly, as long as you sit and level the pass, you play the game after spending like $10 once to get one of the passes. If you're playing through the passes consistently, playing the game pretty regularly, having a good time with it, going in, dropping into one of the multiple modes the game has, including Team Deathmatch. For those of you who have seen the game or tried to play it and didn't like it on release because it didn't have a Team Deathmatch mode or whatever it is, there is a Team Deathmatch mode now. Just figured I'd say that. But as long as you jump in, have some fun with the game, and play it a good amount, you'll probably build up enough of the premium currency naturally through the Battle Pass to be able to buy the next one and not have to spend a dime. Isn't that incredibly nice? All of this is just to say that if you've never seen or played the finals, or if you have and you abandoned it for a while because it didn't have enough content on release, which, to be fair, entirely true, it did not have a lot of content on release. But if you're one of those people, or even if you are brand new and this looked even a tiny bit interesting to you, I implore you, please go play the finals. It's an incredible experience from beginning to end. And so far, I have loved every single piece of content they have made for it, and I think that you might too. So if you enjoyed the video, please like, share, subscribe, all of those things, the fun YouTuber stuff. And stay tuned, because next video we're going to talk about Dark Souls, which, my God, can't wait for that one. And until next time, I am Miki. Hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you later.